Thank you very much. Before we do anything, I think we should give Robin, the people affiliated with and the supporters of the Beverly Library here for putting on presentations like this. They're very informative and I'm tickled pink to be here. I really enjoy this. All of my hobbies I have a tendency to fall in love with, and this is my latest. I happen to get into birds. I don't claim to be an expert. I've only been doing this 2 years, and I may make a mistake. I don't know how many of you are professional bird watchers, but if I make a mistake, come see me at the end and then tell me that I called this bird wrong or that. But I got into birding through my mushrooming. While I was out mushrooming, naturally I had my camera with me like I always do. And I'm picking mushrooms, taking pictures of mushrooms, but I'm, look at this beautiful bird in the tree, so I take a picture. And then I got the idea, I'm going to start filming birds and maybe put together a show on birds. So I started collecting pictures, and now I have thousands of them. And it was very difficult putting this together for you people today because I have so many pictures that I want to show you on top of what I have here, but I just can't do it because we'd be here till the cows came home. So anyhow, I do a lot of photography on birds, very local areas here. And my whole drift of this show is to show you what birds look like up close and personal. Usually when you're driving along, say for instance a shoe pond where I do an awful lot of shooting, and the birds there are totally incredible if you take the time to look. They're there, but you're seeing them from a distance, so you really don't pay attention to them. But pay a little more attention, especially with the ice going out now, and the diving ducks are going to appear, and a lot of other wonderful, wonderful, colorful birds will be at the shoe pond very soon. So keep an eye as you're going by there, or stop, or take a walk around the pond. There's a nice walking area all the way around that people use today. And I've been visiting the shoe pond ever since I was a kid. I used to fish there as a kid. I'd take the fish home. I would eat the fish. People say, oh, you ate fish out of the shoe pond? When you didn't have anything else to eat, it was delicious. So, but take a look the next time you're going around and put a pair of binoculars in your car and then take a closer look. As you're walking along McKay Street, you can look down. There's a sloping thing, grassy area, a lot of poison ivy, so you don't want to walk down there. And you'll see these diving ducks down there. And I'll be coming home or going by, and I'll see the ducks, so I'll pull up a ways, park my car, and get out of the car. And then I go walking along, I park the car here, and the ducks are over here. Now I know these diving ducks, they stay down for about 30 seconds. They send off a bubble trail so you can see where they're going. So I wait for the duck to dive, and then I start walking along like this here on the sidewalk, so he doesn't see me. Because when they see you, they take off. They got very good eyes. So I'm walking along, and people are going by and seeing me walking like this, and I'm going, oh my God. So the duck goes down, and I can walk for about 30 seconds. And then I can see the bubbles starting to get up in one spot. I know the duck is coming up. So I freeze. Now I'm in the street like this, and people are going by seeing this mannequin standing there on the side of the street, and they're calling my wife and saying, I saw Doogie on the street the other day, and he was frozen, and it wasn't cold out, you know. So it's very tricky. You have to use all kinds of things. I'm into camouflage now. I'm buying a kayak so I can get closer to the birds. It's really getting bizarre, but it's a tremendous amount of fun. And with the camouflage and a little bit of stealth, I can get closer to the birds. My dog is with me every morning when I go out to take these pictures of the birds, and now she's come fascinated with birds, and she goes bird watching on her own in the yard, you know. Now this is the typical scene that you'll see. Some of these pictures are at the shoe pond or wherever, but you'll see a bird from afar, and like this one here, the great white egret, another one here. This is on the other side of the shoe pond looking from McKay Street. You got grackles, and up here you have a red-tailed hawk. But you're really not seeing the birds the way they should be seen. Again, this is a small pond. You drive by and you look out and you really don't see much. But if you take the time to look, there are two beautiful ducks right here. They're both wood ducks, and the wood duck is one of the most beautiful birds in the world. I saw my first last year for the first time, and I tell you, I was ready to just start swimming out there to get pictures. So just to get an idea, looking from the street, this is what you see, and if I didn't tell you, you probably wouldn't have seen the wood ducks. But there they are there, and not only are the wood ducks there, but there are turtles everywhere, you know? And there they are. That is a beautiful bird. Anytime you see a duck in a tree, if you're driving along and you happen to look up and you see a duck in a tree, it's a wood duck, okay? They live in trees and hollowed out areas and so forth. Regular ducks don't do this. They're on the ground and they nest on the ground. A lot of times you'll be out and you'll hear this beautiful call of the Baltimore Oriole. Again, if I had the sound. I'm sorry?
We're going to hear it today.
Did you?
Red Sox.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's very good. That's very good. But anyhow, you'll hear an oriole, and you're looking around and, oh my God, where is he? Where is he? You know. And this particular day, I saw this tree, and I'm looking. I could hear this guy singing like crazy, and I finally zoomed into the top of the tree, and there he was. You know, this Baltimore Oriole. A short time later, you know, I see this nest in another tree. And I remember as a kid seeing these nests, and I often wondered, I said, what do they make those nests out of? It's not like a robin's nest or whatever. I couldn't figure it out. And another day I heard the oriole, and he was across the street and about as high as the ceiling here. A lot of leaves in my way, so the shots were kind of difficult and blurry. But I noticed the female, and she is stripping the bark off of this limb right here. You can see it hanging here. And the male is standing by, and she's got this bark in her bill, and she would go to the nest and come back, and that's how they build these nests. It's from bark of the tree that she strips off, and she does all the work. Of course, yes. And this is the male. He's getting all excited about this. You know, he knows he's going to have a nest here, and he's telling her, you know, come on, hurry up with the nest. Tonight's the night, you know. Let's get this thing going, you know. Now we have the house finch, small birds, big birds, they're everywhere. And you ever see these little leaves that drop off the maple tree? They come down like a propeller. These guys love those. They pick them apart, and there's a seed inside that they eat. And I kind of sat and watched these guys doing their thing one day. This is the red-bellied woodpecker. I don't know why they call it a red-bellied woodpecker. He has a white belly and a red head, you know. But very attractive bird, fun to watch. Very aggressive bird. Don't come near the bird feeder while I'm feeding. And this poor dove over here, he's terrified. And the dove is if you take a close look at it, is a very pretty bird also. He has that nice cooing in the morning, and it's very relaxing, almost like a loon. Again, it's a pretty bird if you get up close. You see it from a distance, it just looks like a pigeon. But if you get up close, they have beautiful markings. Morning dove. Morning dove, yeah. Early in the spring, they started about 2-3 weeks ago. Red-winged blackbird, you started hearing them. It's the first bird you'll hear in the spring. And they start their calling on the wing. And they'll just sit around and they fluff up and they start singing like crazy, looking for a mate. This guy looks like he's singing Christmas carols. Now, this bird is a snowy egret. Very funny bird to watch. But this bird here I see every year. He appears at the end of McKay Street in Elliott, right where the Bass River is. And he hangs out there. And this is where this picture was taken. And if you look at his feet, there's a toe missing. I call him Three-Fingered Willie. Okay? And he's got a little fish in his mouth, and he's quite happy. Now, this is an experiment that I made, and on all my bird estates, my signature is the brass ring that goes around the front, because how many times have you seen a birdhouse and it's all chewed apart by either birds or squirrels and so forth trying to get in and get the eggs? So what I do is I always put a brass ring around my holes, and that way they're not, you're not going to get taken by a squirrel or other birds. And also, when I make the brass rings, I find these at yard sales and so forth. When I make the brass rings, I make them small enough so that a sparrow can't get in. Sparrows can be a very big pain in the neck. They'll go into a nest, kill, either drive the bird that's in there out and kill the babies and build a nest right on top of the dead babies and have their own. So I made the rings small enough so that they can't get in, but chickadees and wrens and so forth can, and you're not bothered by sparrows. They'll come along. He's trying to figure out how to get in, and he can't. He's totally puzzled. But look at him here. You know, who the hell built this thing anyhow? I can't get in here, you know. But there's the reason for the brass rings. Now, here's a common bird that you see every day, the grackles, you know. They remind me of the Three Stooges. It's kind of an ugly bird, but if you watch them, I watched them outside the house one day taking a bath, and they're just like watching the Three Stooges. You know, look at these two here, you know, and hey, Charlie, how's it going? Oh, not bad. Yeah, fun day. Yeah, right. And the house wren, one of my favorite little songbirds, and they also keep these green worms out of my garden. And I welcome as many of them as I can get in my yard. I have birdhouses all through my yard, and they do a very good job of helping me with insects. Cute little thing. Here's one of them with another one of my bird estates, and he checked it out, liked what he saw, and he started building his nest. And if you ever find a nest inside your birdhouse and it's built of twigs like this here with nothing else but small twigs, you know it's a house wren. That's the way they build their nest. Again, you can see the ring on the outside of the house. old barn board and so forth. I try to make my houses look like they're 75 years old or whatever. Another small bird, which is a fun little thing, the chickadee. Chickadees are very friendly. They'll come down, you can put seed in your head and they'll sit on your head, or they'll pick it out of your hand. Another one of my favorites is the hummingbird. Beautiful little thing. I could sit and watch these things all day long. Look at the size of the nest. I love it. I mean, the eggs have to be the size of a pea, if that. And a little yellow warbler, catch these guys in the woods. He's doing his thing, you know, doing his song and dance, trying to get that female over there. The goldfinch, wonderful birds to have around, very easy to get with thistle seed. But you got to remember, if you buy thistle seed for these birds, or the smaller birds, get the treated thistle seed. Otherwise, you're going to wind up with thistle all over your yard, which you don't need. They treat it so that it won't spring up again once the birds drop some on the ground. They're very much fun to watch. This is a female here. You can tell the difference, right? And they'll come in 10, 20 at a time sometimes. A couple of males squabbling, and a chickadee coming in for a landing to get his share. And this is a female. This was a flock, and I mean a flock. There were thousands of swallows on their way to Capistrano, I believe. And they came over these trees, and then all of a sudden they swooped in, and we were in my Zodiac, which is if you all know, it's a rubber boat, and I can get in areas like this here, nice and tight, and they just swooped by us, and we had birds going by us at the height of the boat. You know, it was amazing, absolutely amazing. And this is the killdeer, a great, funny little bird to watch. You'll see these on farmlands and gardens and so forth. It looks like a bird that you see along the seashore, but I've seen most of them on farms. Getting ready to take off. And here's the male cooing the female. Hey, sweetheart, how you doing today? Anything new? Naturally, the swan, I caught these two on the shoe pond. They were out walking on the ice, which is very rare. I remember when swans didn't hang around for the winter. And I saw these two on the walking on the pond, so I grabbed a shot. Here they are with their babies. Oh, quite a brood, quite a brood. Now, these are the younger swans, and it looks like they're trying to take off, but they're not. The parents will bring them out on the pond, and then all of a sudden the parent will come up and he'll start flapping and flapping like this here, and splashing in the water, and then all of a sudden I forget what they call a young swan. Cygnet. The cygnets start doing the same thing. And what the swan is doing, he's teaching them how to look more powerful and frighten off their enemies, okay? And that's what these guys are doing here. They're just going around there splashing and having a hell of a time for themselves. Now, if you go to the shoe pond, if you're familiar with the shoe pond, there are two schools, McNown School and the McKay School. McNown School is right behind here on Ball Street, and McKay School is over here, okay? This area was all trees like this. It was solid. And I used to like to look across from here to the other side of the pond because there's a lot of action over there. You can't get in there, but there's birds there all the time. So I went home and got a saw, and I made this little circle here. So if you're ever looking for a nice place to go and view the birds, go there. There's a walkway that goes around the pond. There's a little footbridge that's right over here. And as you walk in, you can stand right here and look across, take some binoculars again, like I say, and there is all kinds of action going down on this end of the pond. This is a turkey vulture, and you see them hovering around 128, very large bird, and they do a lot of good. They pick up a lot of roadkill, and I happened to spot these one day in the Zodiac and passed them by, and they didn't take off. I get pretty close to them. Not a very pretty bird. And again, a good-sized bird when they're in full flight. This is the glossy ibis. I didn't see one of these. I saw one of these for the first time 2 years ago. And it's a bird you don't see that often, but they're in swampy areas. And they'll puck around in the mud and peck around, and stick their bills in the mud and get their food. And I looked over, and oh geez, I looked at it and said, what is this? A red-winged blackbird with a glossy ibis. It was kind of a cute picture. And I thought it was very cool. I said, wow, I got a picture that nobody else has. Here we have a greater yellowlegs. You see these around the same farm areas and small ponds and so forth. Cute bird. Beautiful bird in flight. And my kingfisher, I can watch these guys all day long going in and out, and then they play tag with each other in the air. It's like watching the old fighter planes in World War I. It's really cool. And here's the black-crowned night heron. Again, this is on the other side of the shoe pond near McKay School, and there were 4 of them sitting in the tree here. Again, here's a great blue heron right in front of me. Got himself a hornpout there. And just a beautiful, beautiful bird. In flight, they're just, wonderful. And this is either a young or a female, I'm not sure. Somebody else might know that, I don't. But a lot of times when they're resting, they always get that one paw in the air, that one leg in the air. Beautiful bird in flight. I took the picture. Now this thing looks like a prehistoric bird. It's not. It's a great blue heron. And it was the largest blue heron I ever saw. He had a wingspan that was totally incredible. In the spring, about another month from now or so. You go down the dock. In between the docks, it's loaded with little heron. And these guys come down by the droves, and you can just get a chair and sit and watch them. It's wonderful. It's a show in itself. Try it out sometime. And I'm sorry, wait a minute. They come in and they land, and then they'll just sit there like that there. And the heron are in here swimming around by the thousands. And then plunk, you dive in, and bingo, he comes up and he's got himself a heron. They're a very pushy bird, too. They're like that red-headed woodpecker, you know what I'm saying? I need my space type of bird. Now check this out. Here he is, he's on there with a couple of cormorants, thank you. And he's right here, and the ducks are loaded. And then he decides, hey, this is my log. You're going to have to get off. And okay, everybody off. He's walking down one at a time. He's kicking them off. Get off the log, get off the log. This is my log. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Everybody off the log. And here it is. He's got the whole log to himself. Real pushy bird. Even a mallard duck. How often do you see them, but how often do you take a real good look at a mallard duck? I caught this duck. I was at the cemetery, and there was a puddle in the driveway, and he was just sitting there, and I said, wow, look at this thing. Look at the colors, Wonderful. And here they are feeding. Now, it's pretty interesting. I watched these guys do this for an amount of time. One of them is always on the surface anyhow, and the others will go down. And then he'll go down with the others, and one of the females will watch. And again, this is Quincy Park. And not every morning, but quite a few mornings, every day is a different picture. I envy the people that live across the street because the sights are just absolutely gorgeous. And my dog liked it so much, and I got my dog again looking at the sunrises. Now this bird I spotted down the vineyard one time, and they don't come up this way. And I was on one of the islands off of Endicott College, and I looked over, and bingo, here is this American oyster catcher. And I've never seen them this far north, and I thought it was great. I called the Audubon Society, and everybody's getting all excited about this. And there were 4 of them. I didn't just get one, I got 4. And very interesting bird to watch, and very interesting to know that these guys, you ever try opening an oyster shell? Not an easy thing to do. These guys can open an oyster shell. How they do it, I don't know, but they use that long bill somehow, and they can pop them open and eat the oysters. It's incredible. Blue jays, just a common blue jay. What a beautiful bird. And the closer you get, the more beautiful you can see the details and the feathers and so forth. And again, a blue jay in flight. And if I saw him from a distance, I'd look up and somebody say, "What kind of a bird is that?" "That's a blue jay." And how do you know? I can tell by the way the bird is flying. You know, it's something you get used to. One of my favorite, all of them are my favorites, but the cardinal, how can it not be a favorite? Female cardinal. Now this is a feeder that I have, and if you people are interested in doing this, it's a fairly easy thing to do. This is a two-way mirror, so that these birds come to my house, and my feeder is right here, and this is the window that you're looking at here, and I am this close to the bird. They can't see me, so I can watch these birds pull a seed apart with their tongue and beak and strip it and then swallow the seed. And the antic that they have, this is a female here. She'll eat a seed, clean it and eat it, and then she comes over and she pecks at the bird that's in the mirror on the other side, thinking it's another bird. And then she'll go back and eat a seed, and then she'll look, and she'll come back and she'll peck. She does this, you know, forever until she's full, and then she takes off. And this is from the outside. Very easy to build a box like this. And these are expensive, by the way. I got this at a yard sale. It was a $75 bird feeder. I got it very cheap. I don't know how much I paid for it, but it was super cheap. As soon as I saw it, I dove on it. And it had sliding doors in it with these windows, but after a time they get clouded up. So I went to a pet store and I asked if they had something I could put in my windows to keep this feeder going. I'm going to pull the sliding doors out. And they gave me a sheet of foil like this here. And what you can do, you can put this foil on your window with these little stickers on either corner. And now you've got a beautiful view of the birds that are going to come to whatever feeder you put out there. And they can't see you. And it's $16. It's very cheap for a wonderful show. Again, the male in flight. And you have the reds in the females and so forth. But this next, if I think it's the next picture, if I got it right, I've never seen this before, and I'm curious if any of you have ever seen it before. This was the most beautiful cardinal I've ever seen. Amazing. I don't know if it was like an albino type of cardinal or what, but this was right outside my window. Right outside my window. You know? And I got 3 shots of him before he took off. Now the female doesn't have the colored bill like this. It's more of a darker color. So I'm thinking maybe it's a male going through some process, but I can't. Has anyone ever seen this? Anyone? No? Wonderful. I feel good about this. This is pardon? I went out all day one day to get this bird. I hunted and I hunted, and they're very hard to get near. Very spooky bird, the flicker, and he's just beautiful. And I came home and he's sitting in my backyard. Here they are in my patio, picking out insects between the bricks. All day long I spent trying to get the guy, and I come home and he's sitting in my backyard. Again, when you look out and you're driving along, or you're just looking out into an area like this, if you don't look close, you're not going to see it. But there's a green heron right here, okay? And in order to get close, you need the camo. And that's the green heron right there. They're a fun bird to watch also when they're picking out these fish in those ponds and so forth. A crow, I didn't know this until I did a little reading on it, but it's one of the smartest animals in the world. They've got the intelligence of a chimpanzee. And if you look up on Google, how smart is a crow, they'll show you things that these crows can do that is totally unbelievable. I had a friend of mine who adopted a crow that was wounded or something, and he brought it back. And he kept it for a number of years, a couple of years. And the crow's name was Edgar Allan Crow. And very, very intelligent bird, very intelligent. This bird, his wife was telling me, this bird would be at home and he'd just be resting. And her husband would be coming through the Ralside Bridge, which is a distance from their house, by boat, and the bird would just start going nuts. That bird knew this guy is about 4 blocks away when he was coming home every time. Even when he was driving a car 3 blocks away, the bird would come to life and pop up, and she'd say, "Oh, Fuzzy's right around the corner." You know, it was remarkable. And he finally, one day, took him out on the porch and said, "Edgar, time to go." And he took off. He come back a few times, and then he joined his flock, and he was gone. But it's really amazing. Look at it. Look that up. How smart is a crow? You'll be amazed at the pictures it shows you. And another beautiful bird, the cedar waxwing. I was at the Shoe Pond again, going by, and I saw all these birds high in these big oak trees just before the dam, and they're swinging out of the trees and coming out, and then they'd stop like a hummingbird, and they were catching something, and I found out later, I guess it was mosquitoes, but they're way up high, and I'd never seen one before, so I'm taking these pictures and shooting with the telephoto way up high, and after a time, my neck is, oh my God. So, another brainstorm, Duga. I rush home. I got a chaise lounge. I went back. I put this chaise lounge just outside the sidewalk at the Shoe Pond, laid down in a poison ivy patch, and I'm up there and I'm shooting and shooting and shooting, and people are going by and they're calling my wife and saying, "Marie, I think I just saw Doogie laying in a poison ivy patch in a chaise lounge, and he's in the shade. He's not trying to get sun. What the hell is he doing?" And I was, she told me, one of these days, you know, they're going to swap that camouflage for a jacket with a lot of straps on the back. A couple of cedar waxwings having a little encounter. The males fighting over the females. coming in for a landing. You can see the different colors in the tails when they're open, another way of identifying when they were in flight. And here they are in one of our trees, just outside the window again. These are just outside my windows. And they come in after I shot these birds high in the tree and took all these pictures, a flock of them showed up just outside my window one day and cleaned these trees of these blueberries on it. That's the female. All she has is the orange on her tail here for color. And if any of you have ever eaten at Farnham's in Essex, wonderful place for clams and so forth. When we go to Farnham's to eat, we go in by boat with the Zodiac. It's a great place. I can zoom right up and pull right up at the behind the rocks there, walk in, get our food, eat it in the boat, and then go back out again. And within the last 2 years, they have put up this nesting area here for ospreys. Thank you. For ospreys. And as we were coming out, the male was flying around showing this fish off to the female. He'd take it back to the nest, let her look at it a little bit, then he'd take off again, and he'd circle around. So he's right above us here, and I managed to get some decent shots of him flying around with this, whatever type fish it is, I don't know. Another favorite of mine, the red-tailed hawk. I could shoot these guys all day long also. I happened to come across this guy one day just after he ate. And one thing about a red-tailed hawk is when they're eating, they don't care about you. You can almost walk right up to them. They're going to finish that meal, and you don't want to think about taking it away. Beautiful bird. And here he is with a clean kill of squirrel. He just, and this was just outside my car door window, and he was like from here to that wall away from me. And he just didn't care. He's eating that squirrel until his belly was full, and then they'll go. This red tail I came across one day was eating a snake. He caught this snake right here. But where he caught the snake, he is in this gracle's territory. This grackle is watching him, and he's not happy with the hawk being in his territory. So these are very brazen birds. They'll go after a cat, they'll go after an animal. They don't care. If you're in my territory, a lot of times you'll see a small bird in the sky chasing a larger bird. A lot of times it's the grackle. And they'll attack anything that comes into their territory. So while the red tail is trying to have his lunch, this grackle is coming in and really bugging him. Here he is here. And he's trying to finish up this snake, and bingo, here comes the grackle again. And again, trying to wrap this snake up, and bang, right in his kisser again. Finally, he could kind of ticked off and started screeching and swallowed what he had to do, and he was gone. But look at the talons on these guys. It's just amazing. You wouldn't want him to grab you like that. Now look at this is the talon of a red-tailed hawk, the talons of a red-tailed hawk. And this is something I didn't know until just last year. This is a snowy owl. And the snowy owl only has 3 talons, one in the back and the 2 in the front. But you could see where they could also pierce an animal very easily and kill it with these talons and their beaks. This picture, this is not a live animal. This was a stuffed bird that I just wanted to show the talons, because I had never gotten a picture of a snowy owl until 2 weeks ago. And here's the snowy I got down in Amesbury. Pardon? No, Newbury, no. Amesbury? Salisbury, thank you. down on the reserve there. And everybody, yeah, everybody was lined up on the side of the road. Oh, my first snowy owl. So I get out there and I'm taking pictures. This is just wonderful. And bird watchers everywhere lined up. And we're all watching it, and my phone rang. Not a good thing. The bird got up and took off and went further out, and everybody just turned around and gave me one of these. I'm sorry. So they stayed, and they're still taking pictures of it. And I just glanced over in the parking lot, and I said, wow, look at over there. An empty parking lot. Nobody's using it. There's a snowy owl on top of a pole. I looked at all these people, and I said, I'll see you guys later. And I went over and found this guy sitting on the top of a pole. I got right underneath him. He was wonderful. So it's my first snowy owl shots. And again, you can see the talons, you know. And that is a live picture. And here he is after he took off. Back on another telephone pole. I took another 100 pictures, and then I left. And then the people started spotting it, and all of a sudden there's a flock of people under the telephone pole doing the same thing. I bumped into this guy one day in the woods, and didn't care. He didn't care. He was only as high as the exit sign there, and he just sat there. And I noticed, well, he closed his eyes to snooze, because they hunt at night. They have feathers on their eyelids. I never knew that. You know, it's kind of cool. And there's my wife, Marie, and look at how close she is to him, and she's just looking at him, doesn't mind. Another one of my favorite water birds. These guys come down from the Arctic every year, and you're going to see a mess of them now. They're on the salt water now, but they'll be coming to the, you can go down behind Starbucks and see them, or right where I shot those other pictures of egrets at the end of McKay Street. And the red-breasted merganser, a real character, reminds me of Daffy Duck. He has that look, you know, and just a fun bird to watch. Here he is just kind of relaxing. You get a better idea of the coloring and so forth. He just came up. This guy just broke the surface, and he has a small conger eel in his mouth. And he tosses it around and so forth. With these little narrow beaks, I was wondering how they can hold a slippery eel like that until I read about them a little more, and I found out that their beaks are serrated. And when they grab a thing, the serrated teeth, yeah, it's like a chicken's teeth, they can grab it with these bills and hold it until they get a chance to swallow it. Now, here, I was very surprised to see this because their bill is so narrow. He went down and he got a flounder. And he's flipping it around here and there. There was a whole sequence, I shrunk it. But he's trying to flip this fish around so he can get it down. And I figured he would flip it head first so that the fins folded when they went down. But he was doing it the opposite. He was eating it tail first. And I noticed he starts taking off. You can see the speed in the water here. And I said to myself, you know, I guess he's pushing himself so that he can get this fish down. But it wasn't the case. And he's going a little further. Now he looks like he's got a 35 horse on the back of him, you know. And I'm saying, yeah, he's trying to force that fish down by going faster. But it wasn't. The seagull wanted a piece of the action. And the seagull's swooping in. Look at him now. Now he's got a 50 horse. And he's taking off like crazy now, and that seagull wants that fish. And finally you can see his head swelling, and he got that fish in his mouth, was able to swallow it. And then finally, this is kind of like a hand signal that we give people every now and then in traffic. He was giving the same thing to the seagull, you know what I mean? up yours, you know. Again, here is they kept that this area had to have a lot of these small eels that had just hatched or something, because for 2-3 days there was all kinds of birds, loons, everything, diving for these eels, and then a day or so later, gone. There was nothing there. So there must have been a cluster of eels at the bottom that these birds were attacking and eating. You can see how they have to use both feet here to get themselves going to get airborne. But once they're airborne, the red-breasted merganser is one of the fastest, if not the fastest, duck when he's in the air. This is a hooded merganser. You'll see these guys at the shoe pond shortly also, and down the end of McKay Street. Another beautiful bird. This is the female. And this is the bufflehead. And they just look like a black and white bird when you see them from a distance, but when you get close, you get a chance to see their eyes and the green and the purple and the black and the white and so forth, you know. It's just a pretty little bird. That's the female. And there they are in the flock, and as I'm trying to get near them, naturally they're going away. But I'm going to get them coming the other way very shortly. And here's why I have to freeze, you know. I'd see them on the shoe pond like this, and I'd wait for them. 1, 2, 3. They're all down. This is where I make my move now, you know. Right? And then you can see the bubbles, and you can tell where they're going to come up. So then when they get to here, the bubbles get a little more intense, and that's where I freeze. And they can get a little picky too. Here's 2 males fighting over a female. And again, a bufflehead taken off, and you can see that they have to gallop before they get in the air. They just don't take off straight up. I caught them just right here with the sun at their back, and you can see the sun coming through their orange webbed feet. And loons are around now. Loons were never around here. They were always up in Maine. And now they're out on the salt water, which surprised me. I always thought they were fresh water. But I got this guy out of the fresh water just off of the Quincy Park breakwater. This is the male, and here's 2 females. Another beautiful bird. And these guys can dive. When they dive, you have no clue where they're coming up. They'll dive here and come up twice the length of the room. They can stay down for a good amount of time. And they eat all kinds of things, lobsters, fish, anything they can get on the bottom, they eat. And I spotted him a good distance away. I ran down the dock, and I got next to a pole, and I just happened to pick the right spot. He went down in the water about to the back of the room there, and when he popped up, he was from here to the birdhouses away from me. I got it perfect, and she was right in front of me here. And there she is eating a small lobster. And again, popped up right in front of me. Beautiful red eyes. You can still see the water coming off her back. And even a seagull, right? Look at the colors here. I mean, you see these every day, you know? And this is out on the island where I saw the American oyster catchers. And I was taking pictures of them, and seagulls can be kind of a pain in the neck also and make a mess, and it makes people very unhappy. So they got the brilliant idea. You know what we can do? We can put out a coyote. So they do. Now my friend Paul D'Angelo and I were out one day, and we were up behind Cranes Beach. Plum Island. And we were hunting for oysters. First time I ever saw oysters in forever. We get into some oysters, which are wonderful. And I looked over and I saw this seagull standing there. And he wasn't moving. He wasn't flinching. He wasn't taking a step. He wasn't flying. Nothing. He was just sitting there. And I said to Paul, I said, look at this seagull. He's not moving. You know, he's like a mannequin. And then I'm looking around. I said, someone's setting us up. You know, somebody put this thing here. It's a fake. And we got a little closer, and I could see that he had a sea clam. But he still wasn't moving. So we got closer, and we could see that he doesn't have the sea clam has him. And sea clams can be not dangerous, but I used to get big sea clams when I was diving like this here, and I put them in the refrigerator, and when they open up, if you stick your finger in there, it's like putting your finger in a vise. They close back down again. You can't get your finger out. I got a call from my wife one day, crying, screaming. Scott has his finger caught in a sea clam. I said, what? She says, yeah, he put his finger in the clam. It was in the refrigerator. It was open. He stuck his finger in the clam. She says, I don't know what to do. She says he's crying, and I think the clam's going to break his finger. She says, I'm going to get a hammer and smash the clam. Like, don't do that. Don't smash the clam. You'll break the kid's finger. I'll be right home. Ran home, got a knife, cut the clam, took the kid's finger out. So we were watching this, and look at it. He lifted the clam right up. The clam has him by the top beak, and the bottom beak was still free. He could move this, but he can't drink and he can't eat. Now, how long he's had this, I don't know, but you can see the seagull is pretty stressed out here. And so maybe he hasn't eaten or drank in a good amount of time. So he's getting to the verge where he's ready for collapse, and that he does. He collapses, and you can see he's just stressed out. He can't get away. Oh, come on. So I told Paul, I'm going to go over and catch him. You take the camera and keep shooting. So I went over and I grabbed the seagull. And here he is here. And look at, you can see he's in dire straits. Look at his feathers and so forth, you know. I finally folded his wing up. And here I am with another bird under my shoulder, you know what I mean? I don't know how this happens to me. But in this picture here, I'm trying to pull the clam loose. And I can't get him out. He's really got this seagull, and I didn't want to hurt the bird by pulling any harder than I was. So I told Paul, I said, go back to the boat, get my knife out of my pocket, and I'll cut the clam. So he did, and again, I'm still trying to get this poor bird out of this clam. And then I got the knife, and once you cut the muscle, naturally it opens up, and I freed the bird. And once I freed the bird, he was so mad at this clam, he started biting the clam. And once he bit the clam, he started biting me. And I got a chuckle out of it. But between biting the clam, he was biting me. And finally, the last thing I said to him before I sent him back with his buddies was, don't bite the hand that freed you. And that's my show for today, and thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. You're a great audience. Thank you very much.